Hello there, my wonderful English learners. Welcome back to the English Podcast Classroom. I'm your host, and I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Whether you're listening while drinking your morning coffee, taking a walk, or maybe even doing some housework, thank you for choosing to spend your time with me today. You know, I always get excited when I think about all of you out there in different countries, different time zones, all working so hard to improve your English. Some of you might be in Brazil, others in Japan, maybe some of you are in Turkey or Poland, and wherever you are right now, I want you to know that you're part of our amazing English learning family. Today, we're going to talk about something really exciting and maybe a little bit scary for some of you. We're going to explore the question, can you survive a day in English only? Now, when I say survive, I don't mean literally survive like you're lost in the forest. I mean, can you go through an entire day speaking, thinking, and communicating only in English? Some of you are probably thinking right now, oh my goodness, that sounds impossible. But I promise you, by the end of this podcast, you'll feel much more confident about trying it. And who knows, maybe some of you brave souls will actually give it a try after listening to this episode. Before we dive in, let me tell you a little story. Last month, I met a student from South Korea named Minjun. He told me that he had been studying English for 3 years, but he was still afraid to have conversations. He said he understood everything when he watched English movies. He could read English books, but when it came to speaking, he just froze up. Sound familiar? I bet many of you can relate to Minjun's experience. So I gave him a challenge. I said, Minjun, I want you to try something. Pick one Saturday, and from the moment you wake up until you go to bed, I want you to use only English. Talk to yourself, think in English, even when you order food or ask for directions. He looked at me like I was completely crazy. But guess what happened? He tried it, and it changed everything for him. That's what we're going to explore today. We're going to break down this challenge step by step, hour by hour, and I'm going to give you all the tools, phrases, and confidence you need to survive your own English-only day. But first, let me ask you something. How many of you have ever had dreams in English? If you have, raise your hand. Okay, I can't see you, but I hope some of you raised your hands. Dreaming in English is actually a sign that the language is becoming more natural for you. It means your brain is starting to process English without constantly translating from your native language. Today's challenge is all about creating more of those natural English moments in your waking life. We're going to help your brain get more comfortable with English so it becomes less work and more fun. Now, I want to be completely honest with you. This challenge isn't going to be easy, especially if you're still at the beginner or intermediate level. There will be moments when you feel frustrated, moments when you want to give up and switch back to your native language. But here's the thing, and this is really important. That frustration is actually a good sign. It means your brain is working hard, making new connections and growing stronger. Think of it like going to the gym. The first time you lift weights, your muscles feel sore the next day, right? That soreness means your muscles are getting stronger. The same thing happens with your English brain muscles. The frustration and the effort you feel are signs that you're getting better. So, are you ready to learn how to survive a day in English only? Are you ready to discover some amazing techniques that will make you more confident and fluent? Let's do this together. Morning activities, starting your English day, 15 minutes. All right, my English champions, let's start at the very beginning of your English-only day. Picture this. Your alarm clock goes off at 7 in the morning. What's the first thing that usually happens? Most people think something like, oh no, already? Or 5 more minutes, please. But today is different. Today, you're going to think in English from the very first second. So when that alarm clock goes off, instead of thinking in your native language, you're going to think, Good morning, world. Time to start my English adventure. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but wait, thinking in English is so hard. My brain automatically thinks in my native language. Don't worry, this is completely normal. Learning to think in English is like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you need to concentrate on every single movement, but eventually, it becomes automatic. Let me give you some simple morning phrases that you can start using right away. When you wake up, try saying out loud, "Good morning, sunshine." Yes, talk to yourself. Don't feel silly about it. Talking to yourself in English is one of the best ways to practice. You can say things like, "What a beautiful day," or "I feel great today," or even, "Oh, I'm so tired, but let's do this." The key is to keep it simple. Don't try to use complicated vocabulary first thing in the morning when your brain is still waking up. Start with basic, easy phrases that feel natural. Now, let's walk through a typical morning routine, but we're going to do it all in English. First, you get out of bed. You might say to yourself, "Come on, get up. Time to start the day." Then you go to the bathroom. You look in the mirror, and you can say, "Good morning, handsome," or "Good morning, beautiful," or maybe, "Wow, I look like I got hit by a truck." Whatever feels natural for you. Let me do a little role play for you. I'm going to be someone going through their morning routine, talking to themselves in English. Okay, first things first. I need to brush my teeth. Where's my toothbrush? Here it is. Brush, brush, brush. Minty fresh. Now let me wash my face. Cold water. Wake up. All right, feeling more human now. What should I wear today? It's sunny outside, so maybe a t-shirt and jeans? Perfect. See how simple that was? I'm not using complicated grammar or fancy vocabulary. I'm just describing what I'm doing using everyday English. Now, let's move to breakfast time. This is where things get interesting because you might need to make decisions, and decision-making in English is great practice. Let me show you. What should I have for breakfast? I could make some eggs and toast, or maybe some cereal with milk. Actually, I'm feeling fancy today. Let me make pancakes. Do I have all the ingredients? Let me check. Flour, check. Eggs, check. Milk, check. Perfect. While you're cooking, keep the English conversation going with yourself. You can say things like, "Okay, heat up the pan. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. Now pour the batter. Look at that! It's bubbling. Time to flip. Oh no, I messed it up a little, but it still looks delicious." Don't worry if you make mistakes. Remember, you're talking to yourself, so there's no pressure. If you can't remember a word, don't stop and translate. Instead, try to describe it in simple English. For example, if you can't remember the word spatula, you can say, "That flat thing for flipping pancakes." This is actually a great skill that will help you in real conversations later. Here's a fun challenge for your breakfast time. Try to describe the taste of your food in English. This is harder than it sounds. You might say, "This coffee is strong and bitter, just how I like it." Or, "These pancakes are sweet and fluffy, yummy." Or maybe, "This orange juice is so fresh and citrusy, it wakes me up." Now, what if you live with family members who don't speak English? This is a common situation for many of my listeners. Here are a few strategies. First, you can explain to them what you're doing. You might say something like, "Today I'm practicing English all day. Can you help me?" Most family members will be supportive and might even want to join the fun. If they're not interested in participating, that's okay too. You can still keep thinking in English even when they're speaking to you in your native language. It's like having two language channels in your brain, and you're choosing to keep the English channel turned on. Before we leave the morning section, let me give you some common morning challenges and how to handle them. What if you need to check the weather? Instead of just looking at your phone, try to describe what you see. It's cloudy today, but no rain. Temperature's about 20 degrees Celsius. I should bring a light jacket. What if you need to make a shopping list? Perfect! This is great English practice. Instead of writing your list in your native language, write it in English. You might write milk, bread, apples, chicken, rice, toothpaste. And as you write each item, say it out loud. What if you have an important appointment and you're feeling anxious about it? Use English to talk through your feelings. I'm a little nervous about the meeting today, but I'm well prepared. I've got this. Everything will be fine. The morning is really the foundation of your English-only day. If you can start strong in the morning, you'll build momentum that carries you through the rest of the day. It's like creating an English bubble around yourself that grows stronger as the day goes on. One last morning tip before we move on. Try to avoid your phone for the first 30 minutes after you wake up. I know, this is hard for all of us, but here's why it's important for your English day. When you immediately grab your phone and start reading news or messages in your native language, you're basically telling your brain, okay, we're switching back to the native language now. Instead, try to keep that English momentum going. If you must check your phone, try to find some English content to read or listen to. All right, you've survived the morning. You've brushed your teeth in English, made breakfast in English, and maybe even convinced your family that you've gone a little bit crazy with all your English self-talk. But you're doing great. You're building those English brain muscles, and they're getting stronger every minute. Afternoon challenges, navigating the real world, 20 minutes. Welcome to the afternoon section, my brave English learners. This is where things get really interesting and, honestly, a little bit challenging. The morning was your practice round, your warm-up. The afternoon is where you face the real world, and the real world doesn't always speak English. But don't worry, I'm here to guide you through all the tricky situations you might encounter. By the end of this section, you'll feel like an English survival expert. Let's start with one of the most common afternoon activities, going shopping. Now, shopping in English can be scary, especially if you're in a country where English isn't the main language. But here's the thing. Shopping is actually perfect for English practice because most of the conversations are short and predictable. Let me give you a complete shopping scenario. Let's say you need to go to the grocery store. Before you even leave the house, start preparing in English. Look at your shopping list and practice pronouncing everything. If you wrote tomatoes on your list, say it out loud. Tomatoes. If you have bananas, practice saying bananas. Now, when you get to the store, your internal monologue should be in English. As you walk through the entrance, you might think, okay, where are the shopping carts? There they are. I need a small one today. As you walk through the aisles, describe what you see. Fruits and vegetable section. These apples look fresh. Oh, bananas are on sale today. Now, here's where it gets fun. Let's say you can't find something. Maybe you are looking for olive oil, but you don't see it anywhere. This is a perfect opportunity to practice asking for help in English. Now, you might be thinking, but what if the store employee doesn't speak English? That's okay. The goal isn't to have a perfect conversation. The goal is to try. You approach a store employee and say, "Excuse me, could you help me find olive oil, please?" Maybe they don't understand. Maybe they point in a direction. Maybe they say something in the local language. It doesn't matter. You tried and you used English. That's a victory. But let's prepare you for some common shopping dialogues. Here's a little role play where I'll be both the customer and the store employee. Customer, you. "Excuse me, where can I find the pasta section?" Employee. "It's in aisle 5 next to the rice." Customer. "Thank you so much." Employee. "You're welcome." See? Simple and useful. But what if the conversation is more complicated? Let's try another one. Customer. "Hi, do you have any fresh fish today?" Employee. "Yes, we have salmon and tuna. Both are very fresh." Customer. "How much is the salmon?" Employee. "It's $15 per pound." Customer. "That sounds good. Can I have half a pound, please?" Employee. "Of course. Anything else?" Customer. "No, that's all. Thank you." The key to shopping conversations is to keep them simple and polite. Always say please and thank you. If you don't understand something, it's okay to say, "Sorry, could you repeat that?" Or, "Could you speak a little slower, please?" Now, let's move on to another afternoon challenge, using public transportation. Whether you're taking the bus, the subway, or a taxi, transportation is full of English practice opportunities. If you're taking the bus, you might need to ask, "Excuse me, does this bus go to downtown?" Or, "How much is the fare?" Or, "Could you tell me when we reach Main Street?" If you're in a taxi, you have even more opportunities to practice. Here's a typical taxi conversation. You. "Hello, could you take me to the airport, please?" Driver. "Sure, which terminal?" You. "Terminal 2, please." Driver. "No problem. It'll take about 30 minutes. You. "That's perfect. Thank you." During the ride, you could even try to make small talk. "It's a beautiful day today, isn't it?" Or, "Is traffic always this heavy?" Don't worry if the conversation doesn't go perfectly. The driver might be focused on driving, or they might not be very talkative. That's completely normal. Here's a pro tip for public transportation. Always have your destination written down in English, just in case. If you're having trouble communicating, you can show the driver or the bus operator exactly where you want to go. Now, let's talk about one of my favorite afternoon English challenges, ordering food at a restaurant. This is where you can really have fun with your English practice. And the best part is you get a delicious reward at the end. Restaurant conversations follow a pretty standard pattern, so once you learn the basics, you'll feel much more confident. Let me walk you through a complete restaurant experience. First, you walk into the restaurant. The host might say, "Hello, how many people?" You respond, "Just one, please," or "Table for 2, please." They might ask, "Would you prefer a table or a booth?" You can say, "A table by the window would be nice," or simply, "A table is fine, thank you." Once you're seated, the waiter or waitress will come over. Here's where the real fun begins. Waiter. "Hello, welcome to our restaurant. Can I get you something to drink?" You. "Yes, could I have a glass of water and a coffee, please?" Waiter. "Of course. Would you like cream and sugar with your coffee?" You. "Just cream, please." Now comes the food ordering part. Don't panic. Take your time looking at the menu. If you don't understand something, ask questions. You. "Excuse me, what's in the chicken parmesan?" Waiter. "It's breaded chicken with tomato sauce and cheese, served with pasta." You. "That sounds delicious. I'll have that, please." What if you have dietary restrictions? Don't worry. Here are some useful phrases. "I'm vegetarian. What do you recommend?" Or, "I'm allergic to nuts. Is this dish safe for me?" Or, "Could I have the dressing on the side, please?" And here's something really important. Don't be afraid to ask for clarification. If the waiter speaks too fast, you can say, "Sorry, could you speak a little slower, please?" If you don't understand a word, ask, "What does that mean?" Most restaurant staff are used to customers who speak different languages, and they'll be happy to help. Let me share a funny story with you. I had a student from Germany named Klaus who was terrified of ordering food in English. He told me that he once went to a restaurant in New York, and when the waiter asked what he wanted to drink, he got so nervous that he said, "Yes, please." The waiter looked confused and said, "Yes, please to what?" Klaus was so embarrassed that he just pointed at the first drink on the menu, which happened to be a very expensive wine. But you know what? Klaus survived, he got his expensive wine, and he learned an important lesson. Making mistakes is part of the learning process. That embarrassing moment actually made him a better English speaker because he never forgot to listen carefully to questions after that. Now, what about paying the bill? Here are some useful phrases. "Could I have the check, please?" Or, "The bill, please." When the waiter brings it, you might say, "Could I pay by card?" Or, "Do you accept credit cards?" If you want to leave a tip, you can say, "Keep the change," if you're paying cash, or if you're paying by card, you can ask, "Could I add a tip to the card?" Now, let's talk about another afternoon scenario. Going to the bank or dealing with money matters. Banking vocabulary can be tricky, but the basic conversations are usually straightforward. If you need to withdraw money from an ATM, you're in luck. Most ATMs have English language options. But what if you need to go inside the bank? Here's how you might start. Hello, I'd like to withdraw some money from my account, please. The bank teller might ask for identification. Could I see your ID and your bank card, please? You hand them over and might say, I'd like to withdraw $200, please. What if you need to exchange money? You could say, I'd like to exchange euros for dollars, please. What's the exchange rate today? Here's another banking scenario, opening an account. This is more complex, but still manageable. Hello, I'm interested in opening a savings account. Could you tell me about your options? The key with banking conversations is to speak clearly and don't rush. Money matters are serious, so bank employees will usually speak slowly and clearly with you. Now, let's talk about something that might happen during your afternoon. Getting lost. Yes, this might seem scary, but it's actually a great opportunity to practice asking for directions in English. Here's how you can ask for directions. Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the train station? Or, I'm looking for Oak Street. Do you know where that is? People might give you directions like, go straight for 2 blocks, then turn left at the traffic light. Or, it's about a 10-minute walk from here. Head north on this street. If the directions are too fast or complicated, don't be afraid to ask, could you repeat that, please? Or, could you speak a little slower? You can even ask them to write it down for you. Would you mind writing that down for me? Here's a survival tip. Always carry a small notebook and pen. If someone gives you directions and you're worried about forgetting them, ask if you can write them down. Most people are happy to help and will even draw you a little map. Now, what if you're really lost and need more help? You could say, I'm sorry, I'm completely lost. I'm trying to get to this address, and show them the address written down. Or you could ask, is there a tourist information center nearby? Before we move on to evening activities, let me give you some general afternoon survival tips. First, always carry water and snacks. When you're concentrating on speaking English all day, it's mentally tiring and you need to keep your energy up. Second, don't be too hard on yourself if you slip into your native language sometimes. If you catch yourself thinking or speaking in your native language, just gently switch back to English. Say to yourself, whoops, back to English. Third, celebrate small victories. Every time you successfully order something, ask for directions, or have any kind of conversation in English, give yourself a mental high five. You are doing something really challenging and brave. Fourth, if you're feeling overwhelmed, take a break. Find a quiet place, maybe a park or a cafe, and just sit for a few minutes. You can people watch and describe what you see in English, or just enjoy a quiet moment while still thinking in English. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is practice and building confidence. Every interaction, even the awkward ones, even the ones where you make mistakes, are making you a better English speaker. By now, you've survived the morning and most of the afternoon. You've done your shopping, maybe taken some transportation, ordered food, and possibly even gotten lost and found your way again. You should feel really proud of yourself. The hardest part of the day is almost over. Evening wind down, social situations, and relaxation. 15 minutes. Welcome to the evening portion of our English-only day adventure. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're officially an English survival champion. The evening is when many people feel most relaxed, and that's actually perfect for English practice, because when you're relaxed, your brain is more open to learning and experimenting with language. Evening activities tend to be more social and more fun, which means more opportunities for interesting conversations. Whether you're meeting friends, talking to family, or just enjoying some personal time, there are so many ways to keep your English momentum going strong. Let's start with social situations. Maybe you're meeting friends for dinner, going to a movie, or just hanging out at someone's house. These casual social situations are actually some of the best places to practice English because the pressure is lower and people are usually more patient and forgiving. If you're meeting English-speaking friends, that's fantastic. Tell them about your English-only day challenge. Most people will think it's really cool and will want to help you. You might say something like, "Hey guys, I'm doing something fun today. I'm trying to speak only English for the entire day. Can you help me practice?" But what if your friends don't speak English? This is where things get creative and interesting. You have a few options. First, you can try to teach them some English phrases. Turn it into a fun group activity. You might say, "Let me teach you how to say this in English," and then translate something funny or interesting. Second, you can keep thinking in English even while they're speaking in your native language. This is like a secret English exercise that you're doing in your head. While your friend is telling a story in your native language, you might be thinking in English, "This is such a funny story. I wonder how I would tell this story in English." Third, you can practice describing the evening in English, either out loud or in your mind. For example, "We're sitting in Maria's living room. There are 5 of us here. We're drinking tea and eating cookies. Everyone is laughing because Carlos told a joke." Now, let's talk about some specific evening social scenarios. One common evening activity is going to see a movie. Movies are great for English practice, even if you're not watching an English movie. Before the movie starts, you might have conversations like this. "Friend, what movie do you want to see?" You, "How about that new action movie? I heard it's really good." Friend, "Sounds great. What time is the next showing?" You, "Let me check. There's one at 7:30 and another at 9:15. Friend, 7:30 works for me. During the movie, you can practice by thinking about what's happening in English. If it's a foreign film with subtitles, try reading the English subtitles instead of the ones in your native language. If it's an English movie, even better. Try to catch phrases and expressions that the actors use. After the movie, you have a perfect opportunity for English discussion. What did you think of the movie? The special effects were amazing. I loved the main character. She was so brave. The ending was a bit confusing, though. Would you recommend it to others? Another popular evening activity is cooking or sharing a meal with friends or family. Food conversations are some of the most natural and enjoyable conversations you can have in any language. While cooking, you can describe what you're doing. First, I'm going to chop these onions, then I'll heat some oil in the pan. The smell of garlic cooking always makes me hungry. During dinner, you can practice food-related vocabulary. This soup is delicious. It's creamy and has a nice spicy kick. What spices did you use? Or, I'm so full. I think I ate too much, but it was worth it. You can also practice polite dinner conversation. Could you pass the salt, please? Or, would you like some more rice? Or, this reminds me of a dish my grandmother used to make. What about evening entertainment at home? Maybe you're watching TV, reading, or browsing the internet. These solo activities are perfect for continuing your English practice in a relaxed way. If you're watching TV, try to find English programs. YouTube is fantastic for this. You can find English channels about any topic you're interested in. Cooking, travel, science, sports, comedy. Start with topics you already know well, because you'll understand more even if your English isn't perfect yet. While watching, practice active listening. Try to repeat phrases that you hear. If someone on TV says, "That's absolutely incredible," you say it too. Don't worry about feeling silly. You're alone, so practice away. If you're reading, try to find something in English. It doesn't have to be a difficult novel. You could read English news websites, blogs about your hobbies, or even social media posts in English. The key is to keep your brain in English mode. Here's a fun evening activity that many of my students love: English journaling. Before you go to bed, spend 10 or 15 minutes writing about your day in English. Don't worry about perfect grammar or spelling. Just write about what you did, how you felt, what you learned. You might write something like, "Today was my English-only day challenge. It was harder than I expected, but also more fun. This morning, I made pancakes and talked to myself in English. I felt a little silly at first, but then I started enjoying it. At lunch, I ordered food in English, and the waiter was very patient with me. Tonight, I watched an English movie with my friends. I understood about 70% of it, which is better than last month." Journaling in English is amazing because it helps you process your day and practice writing at the same time. Plus, it's a great way to track your progress over time. Let's talk about phone calls and text messages in the evening. These can be tricky during your English-only day, especially if most of your friends and family don't speak English. For text messages, try this technique. Before you send a message in your native language, write it first in English, just for practice. You don't have to send the English version, but writing it helps keep your brain in English mode. For phone calls, if someone calls you and speaks in your native language, you can still think your responses in English first, then translate. It's like having a simultaneous interpreter in your head. If you need to make a phone call in English, maybe to make a reservation or ask for information, the evening is actually a good time because you've been practicing English all day and you're warmed up. Here's a sample phone conversation for making a reservation. You: "Hello, I'd like to make a reservation for tonight, please." Restaurant: "Certainly. For how many people?" You: "2 people, please." Restaurant: "What time would you prefer?" You: "Around 7 o'clock if possible." Restaurant: "Let me check. Yes, 7 o'clock works for me. Can I have your name?" You: "It's John Smith." Restaurant: "Perfect, Mr. Smith. We'll see you at 7. You: "Thank you very much." The evening is also a great time for English games and activities. If you have family members or friends who are interested, you could play English word games, watch English quiz shows together, or even have English karaoke night. One of my favorite evening English activities is something I call English storytelling time. You pick a simple story, maybe something that happened to you recently, and you practice telling it in English. Start with short stories. Yesterday, I saw a funny dog in the park. It was wearing a tiny hat and sunglasses. Everyone stopped to take pictures with it. As you get more comfortable, you can tell longer, more complex stories. The key is to focus on communication, not perfection. Even if your grammar isn't perfect, if people can understand your story and enjoy it, you're succeeding. Here's another evening technique that works really well. English reflection time. Before you go to bed, spend a few minutes thinking about your day in English. What went well? What was challenging? What you learned? You might think, "Today I learned that I'm braver than I thought. I was scared to order food in English, but I did it. I also learned that it's okay to make mistakes. When I said, 'I want chicken' instead of 'I'd like chicken,' the waiter still understood me perfectly." This reflection time helps consolidate all the English you've been practicing throughout the day. It's like your brain's way of organizing and storing all the new language experiences. As your English-only day winds down, you might start feeling tired. This is completely normal. Using a foreign language all day is mentally exhausting. Your brain has been working extra hard, and that's actually a good thing. Just like physical exercise makes your body stronger, this mental exercise is making your English stronger. If you're feeling overwhelmed or exhausted, remember that it's okay to take breaks. You can spend a few quiet minutes just listening to calming English music or English nature sounds. You don't have to be actively speaking or thinking complicated thoughts in English every single second. Some evening activities are naturally quieter and more contemplative. Maybe you're doing some gentle stretching, taking a bath, or just sitting quietly. You can still keep your English practice going in gentle ways. Count in English, name body parts as you stretch, or simply describe how you're feeling. "I'm feeling relaxed and peaceful now."
The evening is also when many people start planning for the next day. Try doing your planning in English. Look at your calendar and think, tomorrow I have a meeting at 10 o'clock. Then I need to go grocery shopping. In the evening, I want to call my sister. Making to-do lists in English is great practice too. Instead of writing, buy milk, call dentist, finish report in your native language, write it in English. These simple, practical uses of English are just as valuable as having complicated conversations. As you get ready for bed, keep the English going with your nighttime routine. Time to brush my teeth. Where did I put my pajamas? I should set my alarm for tomorrow morning. Some of my students like to end their English-only day with English gratitude practice. They think of 3 things they're grateful for that day, and they express them in English. I'm grateful for the delicious lunch I had. I'm grateful for my friend who helped me practice English. I'm grateful for this warm, comfortable bed. By the time you lay your head on your pillow, you should feel incredibly proud of what you've accomplished. You've spent an entire day communicating, thinking, and living in English. That's not easy, and not everyone has the courage to try it. Even if you made mistakes, even if there were moments when you felt frustrated or confused, even if you accidentally slipped into your native language a few times, you still succeeded. Every moment you spent in English, every attempt you made to communicate, every risk you took to try a new phrase or start a conversation, all of that has made you a better English speaker. Tomorrow, you'll wake up with stronger English confidence than you had this morning. Your brain will have new neural pathways for English thinking, and English will feel just a little bit more natural and comfortable. Sweet dreams, my English champions. Dream in English if you can. Tips and strategies for success. Now that we've walked through an entire English-only day together, let's talk about the strategies and techniques that will make your challenge not just possible, but actually enjoyable and effective. These are the secrets that separate successful English learners from those who struggle and give up. The first and most important strategy is what I call thinking in English instead of translating. This is probably the biggest game changer for English fluency, but it's also one of the hardest habits to develop. Here's what usually happens when English learners speak. They think of what they want to say in their native language, then they translate it word by word into English in their head, then they speak. This process is slow, it's exhausting, and it often leads to awkward or incorrect English because different languages have different structures. Instead, try to think directly in English. I know this sounds impossible at first, but here's how to start. Begin with very simple thoughts. I'm hungry. It's cold today. This is delicious. Don't worry about complex ideas at first. Just practice having simple English thoughts. When you catch yourself translating, gently redirect your brain. Say to yourself, stop translating. Think in English. It's like training a puppy. It takes patience and repetition, but eventually your brain will start doing it automatically. Here's a specific technique that works really well. When you want to say something complex, instead of translating the complex idea, break it down into simple English ideas. For example, if you want to say something like, I'm really concerned about the increasing pollution in our city and its effects on children's health. Don't try to translate that whole complex thought. Instead, break it down. I'm worried. There's more pollution in our city now. Pollution is bad for children. Children might get sick. This is a problem. Yes, it's simpler, but it's direct English thinking, and it's much more natural. The second major strategy is embracing simple vocabulary. Many English learners think they need to use complicated words to sound smart or fluent. This is completely wrong. Native English speakers use simple words most of the time. Think about it. When you're talking to your friends in your native language, do you use the most complicated vocabulary you know? Of course not. You use words that feel natural and comfortable. The same principle applies to English. Instead of saying, I'm experiencing considerable fatigue, just say, I'm really tired. Instead of, the meteorological conditions are unfavorable, say, the weather is bad. Simple, clear communication is always better than complicated, confusing communication. Here's a great exercise. For 1 week, challenge yourself to explain everything using only the 1,000 most common English words. You'll be amazed at how much you can communicate with just basic vocabulary. This exercise will also make you more creative with language, which is a valuable skill. The third strategy is what I call confident imperfection. This might be the most important mindset shift you can make. Most English learners are so afraid of making mistakes that they don't speak at all. But here's the truth. Making mistakes is not the enemy of fluency. Perfectionism is the enemy of fluency. I want you to give yourself permission to make mistakes. In fact, I want you to celebrate your mistakes because each mistake is proof that you're being brave and trying to communicate. Every mistake is a learning opportunity that makes you better. Here's a story that illustrates this perfectly. I once had a student from Brazil named Anna. She was terrified of making grammar mistakes, so she would spend 5 minutes thinking about every sentence before she spoke it. Her conversations were painful to listen to because of all the long pauses. One day, I gave her a challenge. I said, Anna, for the next 10 minutes, I want you to speak as fast as you can and don't worry about grammar at all. Just focus on communicating your ideas. She looked at me like I was crazy, but she tried it.
The result was amazing. Yes, she made lots of grammar mistakes, but for the first time, she sounded natural and fluent. Her personality came through, she was funny and engaging, and I understood everything she wanted to communicate. That exercise changed her entire approach to English. So here's your new rule. Communication first, perfection second. If someone understands what you mean, you've succeeded, even if your grammar wasn't perfect. The fourth strategy is preparation and practice. While I encourage spontaneous English use, a little preparation goes a long way, especially for common situations. Before you go shopping, practice the vocabulary you might need. Before you go to a restaurant, look up menu vocabulary. Before you make a phone call, write down the key phrases you might use. This preparation gives you confidence and makes the real situation much easier. But here's the key. Don't script everything word for word. If you memorize exact sentences, you'll sound robotic and you won't know what to do when the conversation goes in an unexpected direction. Instead, prepare flexible phrases and vocabulary that you can adapt to different situations. The fifth strategy is using English learning resources throughout your day, but choosing them wisely. Not all English content is equally helpful for your speaking and thinking skills. For your English-only day, choose resources that are interactive and engaging. Podcasts where you can repeat after the speaker. YouTube videos that ask you questions. Apps that require you to speak, not just read or listen. Avoid resources that are too passive. If you spend your English-only day just reading English news articles, you're not really challenging your speaking and thinking muscles. You want resources that make you participate actively. The sixth strategy is building what I call English confidence anchors. These are simple phrases or expressions that you know really well and can use in many situations. When you feel nervous or confused during your English-only day, you can fall back on these anchors to regain your confidence. Some good confidence anchors include, "Could you help me, please? I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Could you repeat that? That's interesting. I think so, but I'm not sure. Thank you so much. Have a great day." These phrases work in almost any situation, and because you know them really well, you can say them confidently even when you're feeling nervous about your English. The seventh strategy is creating English speaking habits that stick around after your challenge day. The goal isn't just to survive one day in English. The goal is to make English a more natural part of your daily life. Start small.
Maybe you decide that every morning while you brush your teeth, you'll think in English. Or every time you cook, you'll describe what you're doing in English. Or every evening, you'll spend 5 minutes writing in English about your day. These small, consistent habits are more powerful than occasional big efforts. It's like watering a plant a little bit every day versus dumping a whole bucket of water on it once a week. The 8th strategy is finding your English-speaking community, even if it's online. During your English-only day, you might feel lonely or frustrated because the people around you don't speak English. This is where online communities become incredibly valuable. Join English learning groups on social media. Participate in English conversation forums. Find language exchange partners through apps. Even if you can't meet English speakers in person, you can create connections with English learners and speakers from around the world. These online connections can provide motivation, support, and practice opportunities that make your English journey much more enjoyable and successful. The 9th strategy is tracking your progress in a fun and motivating way. Keep a simple journal of your English achievements. Write down new phrases you learned, successful conversations you had, or moments when you felt proud of your English. This isn't about judging yourself or keeping score. It's about recognizing your growth and celebrating your courage. English learning is a long journey, and it's important to acknowledge how far you've come. The 10th and final strategy is understanding that fluency is not a destination, it's a journey. Even native English speakers are constantly learning new words, expressions, and ways of communicating. Language is alive and always growing. Don't put pressure on yourself to be perfect after one English-only day, or even after many English-only days. Instead, focus on becoming more comfortable, more confident, and more willing to take risks with English. Every time you try to communicate in English, even if it doesn't go perfectly, you're becoming a more successful English speaker. Success in language learning isn't about never making mistakes. It's about being able to communicate your ideas, connect with people, and express your personality in another language. Common mistakes and how to fix them. 10 minutes. Let me share with you some of the most common mistakes I see English learners make during their English-only challenge days, and more importantly, how to fix them. These insights come from years of working with students from all over the world, and I guarantee you'll recognize yourself in some of these scenarios. The first big mistake is what I call the perfectionist trap. This is when students become so worried about making grammar mistakes that they stop speaking altogether. I see this constantly, and it breaks my heart because these students often know a lot of English, but their fear holds them back. Let me tell you about Maria, a student from Mexico. She had excellent grammar knowledge and could write beautiful English essays, but when it came to speaking, she would freeze up. During her English-only day, she spent the first 3 hours barely saying anything because she was overthinking every sentence. The fix for this is what I call the 70% rule. If you're 70% sure about what you want to say, just say it. Don't wait until you're 100% sure about the grammar because that moment might never come. Remember, communication is more important than perfection. Here's a practical exercise. Practice saying the same idea in 3 different ways. For example, if you want to say, "I would really appreciate it if you could possibly help me with this problem," also practice saying, "Can you help me?" and "I need help with this." This way, you always have a simple backup plan if the complex version doesn't come out right. The second common mistake is dictionary dependency. This is when students stop their English flow every time they don't know a word, and they grab their phone to look it up. While dictionaries are wonderful tools, constantly interrupting yourself to look up words kills your English momentum.
Instead, practice the art of working around unknown words. If you can't remember the word screwdriver, you can say, "that tool for turning screws." If you forget the word disappointed, you can say, "I feel bad because things didn't go the way I wanted."
This skill of describing things when you don't know the exact word is incredibly valuable. Native speakers do this all the time. How many times have you heard someone say, "You know that thing that, what's it called? The thing you use to..." This is completely normal and natural. The third mistake is translation thinking. This is when students try to translate complex ideas from their native language directly into English, word by word. This usually results in very awkward English that's technically correct, but sounds unnatural. For example, a student might think in their native language, "I have the intention of going to the store for the purpose of purchasing some food items for tonight's dinner preparation." Then they translate this directly and say this long, awkward sentence in English. A native English speaker would simply say, "I'm going to the store to buy food for dinner." Much simpler, much more natural. The fix is learning to think in English patterns, not just English words. Read and listen to lots of natural English to internalize how native speakers actually express ideas. Pay attention to how they structure sentences, not just what vocabulary they use. The fourth mistake is apologizing overload. Many English learners apologize constantly for their English. "Sorry, my English is not good. Excuse me, I make many mistakes. I apologize, I don't speak English well." While it's nice to be humble, constant apologizing actually makes conversations awkward and draws negative attention to your language level. Most people don't care if your English is perfect. They care about connecting with you and understanding your ideas. Instead of apologizing for your English, try neutral phrases. "Let me try to explain this," or "I'll do my best to say this clearly." These phrases acknowledge that communication might be challenging without apologizing for who you are. The fifth mistake is isolation panic. This happens when English learners feel overwhelmed during their English-only day, and they panic because they feel alone and disconnected from their native language support system. I remember Roberto, a student from Spain, who called me in the middle of his English-only day, almost in tears. He said he felt lost and disconnected from everyone around him. This is a very real and very common feeling. The fix is preparation and backup plans. Before you start your English-only day, identify some safe spaces where you can go if you feel overwhelmed. This might be a quiet park, a library, or even your bedroom. Have some comforting English content ready, maybe a favorite English song, a funny English video, or an encouraging English podcast. Remember, feeling overwhelmed doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're challenging yourself, and that's brave and admirable. The sixth mistake is speed obsession. Some students think that speaking fast means speaking well, so they try to rush through their English without focusing on clarity or communication. Speaking quickly in English when you're not ready usually leads to more mistakes, more confusion, and more frustration. It's much better to speak slowly and clearly than to speak fast and unclearly. Practice speaking at a comfortable pace. If someone asks you to repeat something, that's okay. It's much better than having a conversation where no one understands each other. The seventh mistake is vocabulary showing off. This is when students use complicated words that they're not comfortable with just to try to impress people or sound more advanced. I had a student who insisted on using the word magnificent instead of great or wonderful, but he wasn't comfortable with this word, so he used it incorrectly in many situations. Instead of sounding impressive, he sounded awkward. Use vocabulary that you're comfortable with. It's better to use simple words correctly than complex words incorrectly. As your comfort level grows, your vocabulary will naturally expand. The eighth mistake is culture confusion. Sometimes students try to translate not just language, but cultural concepts that don't exist in English-speaking cultures. This can lead to very confusing conversations. For example, in some cultures, it's normal to ask very personal questions when you first meet someone. But in English-speaking cultures, this might seem rude or invasive. Part of using English successfully is understanding the cultural context. The fix is observing and asking questions. Pay attention to how native English speakers interact with each other. When in doubt, follow their lead. And don't be afraid to ask, is it okay to ask about, or is this appropriate to say? The 10th mistake is energy depletion. Using a foreign language all day is mentally exhausting, and many students don't prepare for this. They start their English-only day with great energy and enthusiasm, but by the afternoon, they're mentally drained and make more mistakes. Plan for this. Make sure you eat well, stay hydrated, and take short breaks throughout your English-only day. It's okay to have quiet English moments where you're not actively speaking, just thinking in English or listening to English content. Think of your English brain like a muscle. If you tried to exercise intensively for 12 hours straight, your muscles would get tired and you'd risk injury. The same thing happens with language learning.
The 10th and final mistake is comparison trap. This is when students compare their English-only day experience to other people's experiences and feel discouraged because theirs seems harder or less successful. Remember, everyone's English learning journey is different. Someone who's been studying English for 10 years will have a different experience than someone who's been studying for 2 years. Someone living in an English-speaking country will have different opportunities than someone learning English in their home country. Your English-only day is about your progress, your growth, and your courage. Don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle or your middle to someone else's end. Here's something really important to understand about mistakes. They're not failures. They're information. Every mistake tells you something valuable about what you need to practice more or understand better. I keep a mistake celebration journal where I write down the interesting mistakes my students make, not to embarrass them, but because mistakes often reveal really creative thinking and language experimentation. For example, one student said, "I have 25 years," instead of "I am 25 years old." This mistake shows that she understands possession in English. I have. And she knows how to talk about age. She just mixed up the patterns. That's not a failure. That's creative language use that just needs a small adjustment. Another student said, "I'm very interested about this book," instead of "I'm interested in this book." Again, not a failure. She knows how to express interest. She knows how to talk about books. She just used the wrong preposition. These kinds of mistakes are actually signs of progress. The key is developing what I call mistake resilience. This means bouncing back quickly from mistakes without letting them destroy your confidence or stop your English flow. When you make a mistake, try this 3-step process. Notice it if you catch it. Correct it quickly if possible. Say, "Sorry, I mean," and move on immediately. Don't spend 5 minutes analyzing the mistake or apologizing extensively. Just acknowledge it briefly and continue with your communication. Remember, even native English speakers make mistakes. We say things like, "I didn't do nothing," double negative, or "between you and I," incorrect pronoun case, or we mix up words that sound similar. The goal isn't to eliminate all mistakes. The goal is to communicate effectively despite occasional mistakes and to learn from mistakes when they happen. Motivational conclusion and call to action. 8 minutes. My amazing English learners, we've reached the end of our journey together today. But really, this is just the beginning of your English adventure. We've walked through an entire day together, from those first sleepy morning moments when you decide to think, "Good morning, world," instead of whatever you'd normally think in your native language, all the way through to those peaceful evening moments when you reflect on your day in English. And you know what? Just by listening to this podcast, just by imagining yourself going through these experiences, you've already started building your English confidence. Your brain has been practicing, visualizing, and preparing for your own English-only day challenge. I want you to think about something for a moment. What if I told you that 1 year from today, you could be having fluent,
confident conversations in English? What if I told you that English could feel natural and comfortable instead of stressful and difficult? What if I told you that you could express your personality, your humor, your ideas, and your dreams in English just as clearly as you do in your native language? You might think, that sounds impossible. English is too hard. I'm not smart enough. I'm too old. I don't have enough time. But here's what I know after working with thousands of English learners. Every single person who becomes fluent in English started exactly where you are right now. They all had doubts, they all made mistakes, they all had days when they wanted to give up. But the ones who succeeded had one thing in common. They were willing to take risks, to try new challenges, and to push themselves outside their comfort zone. And that's exactly what this English Only Day Challenge is about. Let me tell you about Kenji, a student from Japan who took this challenge 3 years ago. When he first heard about the English Only Day idea, he laughed and said it was impossible. He was so shy about his English that he would whisper when he had to speak in class. But something about the challenge intrigued him. Maybe it was because it seemed so scary that it was exciting, or maybe he was just tired of being afraid of English. So he decided to try it on a Saturday when he didn't have to work. He told me later that the first hour was torture. He felt self-conscious talking to himself in English. He got frustrated when he couldn't remember simple words. He almost gave up after breakfast.
But then something shifted. Around noon, when he was ordering lunch in English, the waiter complimented his pronunciation. That small moment of success gave him energy to keep going. By evening, he was thinking in English without forcing it. He was dreaming up conversations he wanted to have. He was excited about English instead of afraid of it. That one day changed everything for Kenji. It didn't make him fluent overnight, but it showed him that he was capable of so much more than he thought. It gave him the confidence to start taking more risks with English, to join conversation groups, to speak up in meetings at work. Today, 3 years later, Kenji works for an international company where he uses English every day. He travels to different countries for business, makes presentations in English, and has friends from all over the world. All because he was brave enough to try one English-only day. Your story could be just like Kenji's. In fact, your story could be even better because you have something Kenji didn't have when he started. You have this podcast, this roadmap, this step-by-step guide to surviving and thriving during your English-only day. But here's the thing about maps and guides. They're only helpful if you actually use them. You can listen to this podcast 100 times, you can take notes, you can tell all your friends about it, but none of that will improve your English. The only thing that will improve your English is actually trying the challenge. So here's my call to action for you. I want you to pick a day, maybe this weekend, maybe next weekend, and commit to your English-only day challenge. Don't wait until your English is good enough or until you have more time or until conditions are perfect. Perfect conditions don't exist. The best time to challenge yourself is right now. But I want you to do this smart. Don't just wake up one morning and randomly decide to speak only English. Plan for it. Prepare for it. Make it an event that you're excited about, not something that stresses you out. Here's your step-by-step preparation plan. First, choose your day. I recommend a Saturday or Sunday when you have fewer obligations and more flexibility. Mark it on your calendar. Tell someone about it. A family member, a friend, or post about it in an English learning group online. Making it public makes you more likely to follow through. Second, prepare your environment. Download some English podcasts, find some English YouTube channels you enjoy, maybe choose an English movie for the evening. Have your phone ready to translate if you absolutely need it, but challenge yourself to use it as little as possible. Third, plan your activities. Don't just stay home all day thinking in English. Go out into the real world. Go shopping, go to a restaurant, take a walk in a busy area. The more you interact with the real world in English, the more valuable your experience will be. Fourth, prepare some backup plans. If you feel overwhelmed, where will you go to relax? If you need help, who can you ask? If you make a mistake, how will you recover? Having these plans reduces anxiety and increases your chances of success. Fifth, set realistic expectations. You probably won't sound like a native speaker by the end of the day. You might make mistakes, feel frustrated, or have awkward moments. That's not failure. That's learning. The goal is progress, not perfection. Now, I want to talk to those of you who are feeling scared or hesitant about this challenge. Maybe you're thinking, this sounds too hard. I'm not ready. What if I embarrass myself? What if people laugh at me? First of all, those fears are completely normal and understandable. Every brave person feels fear before they do something challenging. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Second, most people are much kinder and more patient than you think. When people see that you're trying to communicate in English, they usually want to help, not judge. They admire your effort and your courage. And third, even if something embarrassing happens, so what? Embarrassing moments make the best stories later. Some of my most successful students have the funniest stories about their English mistakes, and they tell these stories with pride, not shame. And finally, think about this. What's the worst thing that could happen if you try this challenge and it doesn't go perfectly? You'll have practiced English for a whole day. You'll have learned something about yourself, and you'll have taken a big step outside your comfort zone. Even if it's difficult, you'll be better for having tried. But what if you don't try? What if you let fear stop you? Then nothing changes. Your English stays at the same level, your confidence stays the same, and you miss out on discovering what you're truly capable of. I believe in you. I believe in your ability to rise to this challenge. I believe that you have more English knowledge and more courage than you realize. I believe that this challenge could be the turning point in your English learning journey. But my belief in you isn't enough. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be willing to take this leap of faith and trust that you can handle whatever comes up during your English-only day. Let me leave you with this thought. Every expert was once a beginner. Every fluent English speaker was once exactly where you are right now. Nervous, uncertain, making mistakes, but willing to try. The only difference between them and you is that they kept trying, kept practicing, kept pushing themselves to grow. They had English-only days. They made embarrassing mistakes. They felt frustrated sometimes, but they didn't give up. You have everything you need to succeed. You have curiosity, or you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. You have dedication, or you wouldn't be working so hard to learn English. You have courage, even if you don't feel it right now, because you're even considering this challenge. So here's my final request for you. Don't let this podcast be just entertainment. Don't let it be just information that you passively consume and then forget. Let it be inspiration that moves you to action. Pick your day, prepare for your challenge, and then do it. Take that leap of faith and discover what you're truly capable of. And after you do it, I want to hear from you. Share your experience in English learning communities online. Tell other people about your English-only day adventure. Inspire someone else to take the same challenge. Remember, learning English isn't just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about opening doors to new opportunities, new friendships, new experiences, and new parts of yourself that you haven't discovered yet. Your English-only day is waiting for you. Your future, more confident, more fluent self is waiting for you. The only question is, when will you take that first step? Thank you for spending this time with me today. Thank you for being part of the English Podcast Classroom family. Thank you for having the courage to learn, to grow, and to challenge yourself.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and remember, you're not just learning English, you're unlocking your potential. Good luck with your English Only Day challenge, my friends. I can't wait to hear about your adventures.